Episode 4 of Forecasting Love and Weather starts with the morning hazy, with visibility low all over town. Ha-Kyung happens to be out for her morning jog, but a message from Siwoo distracts her. She's still hung up over the night's events, and, more specifically, her deciding they should just stay colleagues, and not dive into becoming lovers. The fog causes all sorts of problems across the region, including a 14-car pile-up on the highway. With the visibility less than 10 meters at the time of the accident, the forecasting team gathered together at the forecasting station and debate over the best way of dealing with this. However, news around the office spreads of Siwoo being in the restaurant with a lady the previous night. He keeps a poker face, though, and refuses to divulge who it was he was with, chuckling nervously and claiming that they're not serious yet. Ha-Kyung overhears and makes up an excuse to get Siwoo back to work again. Meanwhile, Kai-jun is distracted over the Ha-Kyung situation. In fact, his work is starting to suffer as a consequence. If that wasn't enough, Yoo-jin shows and nags him over broadcasting the fog and being a more focal point of this. Kai-jun is flustered and tells her to give him some time, eventually bemoaning his entire situation when he's on his own. To be honest, it's hard to feel sorry for this guy. Meanwhile, Ha-Kyung and Siwoo discuss the fog in the Gangwon province. Siwoo talks back to her, pointing out his hands-on experience. He wants to break down the different areas and give separate warnings rather than a blanket high fog warning. Senior Director actually agrees with Siwoo. However, their time is up and they need to hand things over to the night team. So naturally, Siwoo writes up notes to help them out. Ha-Kyung, though, continues to glance at him while he's working. And who should be in the elevator on the way out? Yep, it's Yoo-jin. She wants the director's opinion on an article she's writing, specifically about the fog warnings. Ha-Kyung remains professional and mentions how the fog is so sporadic that it's difficult to actually greenlight fog advisories. Another ongoing story here comes from Senior who moves back in with his daughter and wife. He struggles to connect to them both, and everything is a struggle. Is not used to all these changes, and between an estranged relationship with his wife and his daughter, things are tough. But then things aren't good for the family either, given he's missed out on so many of his daughter's big moments in life. This chat allows him to gain some perspective. That night, Ha-Kyung finds herself obsessing over Siwoo, including looking at his photos and even messaging him. In her flustered state, she asks him to look up fog details from other countries too, which causes him to pull an all-nighter. When the other workers show up in the morning, they believe she's been wasting his time on purpose. However, there are bigger problems afoot. The issue here stems from Yoo-jin's article, which has been published and is a damning assessment against the station and fog advisories. The article in question basically calls them incompetent. The thing is, Korea's budget is minuscule compared to other countries with fog advisories in place, and she's quick to point that out to Yoo-jin when she confronts her. Ha-Kyung tells her to fact-check properly in the future. While she's getting a grilling, Kai-jun shows up and tells her he'll deal with this. And by deal with, he gives her an earful too. That night, Ha-Kyung heads back to see her mum, but things take an awkward turn when she admits she's signed her up to a dating service, determined to try and get her a decent man. It's the final straw and Ha-Kyung leaves, telling Mrs. Bay she'll only return after she's deleted her data and taken her profile down. Back in her old apartment, Ha-Kyung rings Siwoo and asks him for help with the translation of the UK date. She rings so often that eventually he decides to just head over with pizza. The thing is, it turns out Siwoo and Ha-Kyung have decided to date in secret, keeping things behind closed doors. Those moments we've seen through the episode of the pair butting heads and being confrontational have just been a front for them being together, typified by winks and sly smiles. After sleeping together again, Ha-Kyung races out in the morning when she realizes she's late. Only, when she leaves, Siwoo receives a call and answers the phone. A strained look covers his face. Who's on? The episode ending explained. Forecasting Love and Weather bows out with another good episode, this time using the juxtaposition of fog and poor visibility to mask the secret relationship between Ha-Kyung and Siwoo. This much is especially true during the little reveal at the end, and this K-drama does a great job keeping each episode thematically relevant. It'll be interesting to see how Kai-jun and Yoo-jin play a part in this, and whether there will be any complications at work if when these guys find out about their respective exes. For now, this office romance continues to blossom and the ending hints that we've got lots more drama and romance on the horizon.